got
All right.
300 people watching. We're good to go.
Here we go. Here is Fluffy again. God only knows what he'll get himself into tonight. I love him. Happy Halloween to all of you out there with your kitties, and sorry about the lack of audio. And I'm going to put Fluffy down. We'll see what he does tonight. But what I thought I would do is on this Halloween Eve that I would start out with news from this last night in keeping with the Halloween spirit, but which echoes all the way back to stories that I have been reporting since 2011, the year I began receiving my first loud, unexplained boom reports from the United States, Canada, Mexico, Europe, and other parts of the world. Mysterious, unexplained explosive booms have been reported in hundreds of cases around the world without authorities being able to find the source or physical evidence of any explosions. By August of 2011 and increasing in February of 2012, came reports of both booms and the added mystery of weird trumpet-like sounds in a chorus, sort of multiple notes of brass instruments that were heard all over the world, like the preceding booms. Last night in Montreal, Canada, a variation of the eerie trumpet metallic chorus of sounds was reported by many people to reddit.com, and one person recorded and looped the sound for people to study and comment about. I'm going to ask Lori now to play that loop for a couple of times so you can hear it, and then I'm going to talk to you more about this mysterious phenomenon afterward. Go ahead, Lori. So now you can see why people over the last decade from 2011 or 7 years, 2011 to 2018, when they have heard these kinds of sounds, some people have compared them to scraping metal. Others have said that it reminded them of something that was like brass trumpets. And there have been variations. This is a brand new one from Montreal last night. Now, by February of 2012, there were at least 50 YouTube videos from many different places in North America and around the world with these strange trumpet horn-like sounds, and sometimes the booms and the metallic sounds were mixed at the same time. And some other characteristics that people have described, whether it was in Europe or Mexico or Australia, New Zealand, have been all over the world. And people will say it reminds them of strange trumpet horn-like sounds that are often accompanied by loud buzzing or mechanical sounds or a low beating drum sound that keeps going through the trumpet sound. Ear witnesses who have experienced the strange sound say they first look up into the sky and then they can't see anything. And there are no trees moving, no breeze. In fact, in many cases, people have said it is uncommonly still while these strange sounds seem to be permeating in the sky. And they realize that there's no point source, that no matter where they turn, no matter what they do, even if they try to walk, the sound is 360 around them. At the beginning of 2012, there were simultaneous reports at almost the same time, ranging from Dunkirk, New York, to Germany, where in one case in Germany, the strange atmospheric trumpet sounds, which are recorded and are at Earthfiles, set off hundreds of car alarms all at the same time that were mixing in with the strange trumpet sounds. If you go to the Earthfiles archive and you go through to February 23rd, 2012, everything is organized chronologically. You will see a report that's called Eerie, Strange Trumpet-Like Sounds Heard in Tennessee and Kansas. On January 18th, 2012, a retired real estate agent in Gallatin, Tennessee, which is 35 miles northeast of downtown Nashville, was packing her car for a trip at about lunchtime, and suddenly she was surrounded by the sound of many trumpets, and the first thing she said she thought of was Gabriel blowing his horn in Revelations in the Bible. Then, 15 hours later, on January 19th, 2012, 239 miles southwest of her, and now we're in Memphis, Tennessee, beginning at 3:45 a.m. Central Time for about 5 minutes, there were more trumpet sounds heard by 45-year-old William Smith, a newspaper delivery man for the Memphis Commercial Appeal. He was astonished by horn-like sounds that suddenly surrounded him in every direction, and he told me in an Earthfiles interview that you can read in that Earthfiles archive report, quote, "For me, it was almost like electricity in the air. I could feel my hair standing up. I know it was a very eerie feeling, and a car was passing by slowly in the street, and it stopped, and they rolled down the window, and I knew that they were listening for a few seconds to this weird sound. And then they drove on. That sound of many trumpets seemed to be coming from all around me, and no matter which way I turned, it had the same intensity," close quote. Well, the most recent metallic, sort of mysterious trumpet-like sound was reported to me at Earthfiles on November 26 last year, a year from now, a year going back, November 26, 2017. Residents in Godfrey, Illinois reported hearing a loud, eerie sound beginning around 2:30 a.m. that Sunday morning, and it lasted for about 10 minutes. Godfrey is in Madison County, Illinois, about 38 miles north of St. Louis, Missouri. And one ear witness was Mike Quinn, who said the sudden eerie sound that erupted in the early morning darkness was apocalyptic to him. He compared it to, quote, "the mixture of a rushing wind and a brass instrument like a trumpet that was coming from high in the sky," he thought. So, if any of you in my Earthfiles YouTube channel audience hear any strange metallic horn trumpet sounds in the sky, try to record them and send them to us at earthfiles.com. And I'll embed the sounds in an Earthfiles report after we play it at our YouTube Earthfiles channel, because this remains one of the strange mysteries from 2011 to date. Now, on this Halloween night, as we close out October 2018, in which I have reported about 2 different and puzzling appearances of rapidly moving smoke fog here in my office during my YouTube channel broadcast. Each lasted 1 second, but are still baffling to everyone who has studied the looping clips that we have posted from the YouTube live stream videos on October 3rd and October 17th. They are in my Earthfiles reports at earthfiles.com. Since those reports and videos were posted, I have received many valuable emails from a lot of you about your own encounters with kind of moving, smoky fog. Another came today from a man named Ben, who lives near St. Mary's Parish in God, Manchester, England, northwest of Cambridge. Ben writes, quote, "Dear Linda, I listened with great interest to your interview on Coast to Coast on the 25th of this month. And that was my Coast Radio broadcast last week on October 25 to 26, in which I included an interview with an Earthfiles viewer who was stunned by white fog-like material that moved past him, in which he could see hieroglyphs that were superimposed on the moving smoky fog as it went by him. He feels that experience was linked to this present time, 2018 going forward, in which he told me, quote, "It was for some time in the future, that I was supposed to recall this information from those hieroglyphs because it was like being given to me information, but I couldn't decipher it. And now I think everything is speeding up. Something is about to happen. That's the feeling I get. I get a feeling of urgency, a feeling that it's too late to do anything about our current situation, and something is coming either to fix it or maybe to help some of us, close quote. And today, Ben said further in his email from England, quote, I had a similar experience with what you have reported about smoky fog a couple of years ago in the churchyard opposite my house while I was walking my dog. The church was St. Mary's Parish in God, Manchester. The church has been there in some form for about 1,000 years. Most of the present buildings were built between 1200 and 1625. This area of the churchyard where I was is mainly used from the 1860s to the 1940s. I have never heard of this smoky fog phenomenon talked about before, and when I mentioned it locally, sadly, I was rather ridiculed. So I never mentioned it again until this email to you, Linda. What happened was my dog was having a sniff around a grave or two as usual, when up from a small bush on an overgrown bush came what I can only describe as a grayish fog that seemed to drift up and away. There were no fires in the area, and it was a clear day. My Victorian house overlooks the churchyard, and I very shortly afterwards witnessed the same thing again nearby, a grayish fog for a few seconds, and then it dissipated. Further, the first fog incident in the parish graveyard was very close to the grave of local author and historian F.W. Bird. At that time, I had just finished reading his book from 100 years ago, entitled Memorials of God, Manchester, Reminiscences. It was published in 1911 and featured his memories of the town from his birth in 1837, the first year of Queen Victoria's reign through to the Edwardian era. After I read his book, I told a few townspeople it was a shame that his grave headstone in the parish church was nearly collapsed down, and it was sad to me because he was important in our history, and he should not be forgotten. So, Linda, maybe Mr. Bird came back from another dimension to show his appreciation for my reading his book and talking about restoring his grave headstone. When I heard about what happened in your office, I thought this might be of interest, close quote. The fact that Ben's first experience with the fog was close to historian F.W. Bird's grave in the St. Mary Parish graveyard, it intrigues me because I have received so many other emails from people over the last 3 weeks suggesting that foggy smoke, or maybe ectoplasm, are often linked to humans or pets that have died and passed to another dimension. But what is the physics of back and forth dimensional penetrations? This also makes me think of one of the scariest moments in my life. And this one I have never spoken about in public ever. And you will understand why when I have gone through what happened. And as I describe it, I hope any of you out there in the world who might have experienced something similar will email me with assurance that I will never use your name unless you give me written permission. But like the smoky fog and out-of-body experiences that you all have been sending me with so many people saying they've never told anyone before now, what I'm going to share tonight is in the spirit of my mantra, down with entropy, up with light. And that is the theme of my new Earthfiles t-shirts that I'll tell you more about later in this broadcast. But first, on this Halloween night, I'm now going to share this scariest experience of my life that I think saved my soul. It was another October, and the year was 1974. My daughter and only child, Laura, had been born earlier that year in March, on March 25th. And by June, I was traveling with her and my mother in a car from Los Angeles, where my husband and I had been TV producers, to Boston, Massachusetts, where my husband would begin work on a master's degree in business administration at Harvard University in September of '74. I had already been hired to produce a medical series called House Call at WCVB, the ABC affiliate in Boston. And when I think back at what I assumed I could do so easily all at once without coming apart, I am stunned. I was breastfeeding a 2-month-old baby. I was behind the steering wheel driving across the country from LA to Boston. I was getting ready to start producing really intense medical programming at WCBB. My husband was expecting me to find and buy a house that a month later he would arrive with all of our furniture in a moving truck that would fit into the new house, and that all of that happened by October of '74. But in that month of October, I began to experience something very strange, and it was disturbing. I waked up one night in the dark, could see my husband asleep next to me. I knew that our daughter Laura was asleep in the next room, but I could not move. The first moment of waking up and not being able to move an inch of my body was terrifying. And then came a thought voice. That same thought voice I've told you about earlier this month that warned me as a young child to not go through the ceiling of my bedroom when I went out of body and was entranced with the pretty blue light in the cottage cheese ceiling. This time, the thought voice said, "Concentrate on moving your little finger." My hand was in front of my face. I was lying on my stomach, and I knew where my little finger was, so I started to stare at it. Suddenly, the paralysis gave way to my little finger moving, and as soon as it moved, then I could move the rest of my body. That same thing happened every night for the next 9 nights, actually to the 10th. I told my husband, who said, "Go to a doctor." I did, and he said I was experiencing postpartum biochemical changes in my body and gave me a prescription for Valium. I took one of those pills and went from my normal, energetic, always moving self to an unrecognizable, wanting to stop moving and lie down person. I hated it, and I didn't take any more. And the sleep paralysis at night continued to the 10th night. But something else came with the paralysis. When I stared at my little finger to break the spell, I turned over to my back on a couple of pillows to sit up because I was so frustrated. At that moment, with my back against the pillows and my husband sleeping to my left, who never ever woke up, no matter even if I touched him or tried to shake him, I instantly became aware of a large, dark, shadow Hulk thing at the door of the bedroom, and it was moving slowly toward me. I can still feel vividly the rush of adrenaline and my heart beating faster as I sat straight up from the pillows and I stared with horror at the black Hulk moving toward the bed. And then came my thought voice. Say out loud the Lord's Prayer over and over and do not stop. Immediately in front of me at that moment, all the way from below the foot of the bed up to the top of the 14-foot ceiling in that old Boston house, was a blazing white cross. I don't try to get off the bed. I don't try to move. I did reach out toward my husband, who never moved, never woke up. And still, I sat up. That was my one motion. I sat up. My eyes went back and forth between the large, beautiful, blazing white cross and the still, slowly moving black hulk coming to the right side of the bed. And now it was at the side of the bed. And I heard my thought voice say the Lord's Prayer. And I began, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. I don't know how many times I said the Lord's Prayer. It was as if I was in the middle of a standoff between the dark hulk and the blazing white cross. And then came a warm, moist breeze like Hawaii across my perspiring face from the right. And when I looked, the dark hulk was fading out just like a rheostat. And then, with the blazing cross still in front of me, for a few more seconds, I fell back against the pillows. My nightgown was wet with perspiration, and then the thought voice came once more. God won, and your soul will never have to do this battle ever again. The next day, I got my hair cut short. I bought a bicycle. And for the next few weeks, I rode my new bicycle with my short hair flying freely to work. And soon I felt strong and full of energy again and knew without a doubt, I have a soul. Something wanted my soul, but something much greater in that white blazing cross saved my soul. And I love to my core that energy of the divine field that intervened. And when I walked all those pastures to investigate bloodless, trackless animal mutilations, which would occur, when this was 74, I wouldn't be walking those pastures until 5 years later, starting in September of 1979. And as I walked those pastures in 79 to 80 and so many other pastures beyond the production of my documentary, A Strange Harvest, I often thought of that blazing white cross and wondered then and now, what is the physics between this matter world and the instant penetration from another dimension of something so powerful that seemed to know what the dark hulk was and what it could do, and knew how to stop it. And so, in my new Earthfiles t-shirts that we are going to sell for the very first time in my professional existence in the November 9 to 11 Baltimore Alien Con, the front says, Linda fights for light. And on the back is that mantra, down with entropy, and always up with light. And I'm so glad I got to share this with you tonight. And on this Halloween, for whatever Halloweens are to come, and if you are ever in some kind of a tough spot, I hope that this story may come and have relevance to you at some point in your life, and that you always remember, down with entropy. Entropy is the dark. Entropy is the hatred. Entropy is the war and death. Up with light is that energy, that force which can counter entropy that I experienced in that bedroom in Boston in 1974 in another October. And that the work that I have done since then in medicine, and then the work that I did at Channel 7 in Denver, that ended up taking me into those pastures and taking on the huge mystery of mutilated animals around this planet, without blood and without tracks, that goes on to this day, that led me to have to deal with what law enforcement said the perpetrators are creatures from outer space, and that I'm still trying to understand who they are, who we are, what the relationship is, and that something that can generate that blazing white cross, I personally am convinced cares a great deal about what happens to Homo sapiens sapien humans on this planet now and in the future. And no matter what is to come, no matter what, in all of these feelings that people are sending me, hundreds from around the planet, Linda, something is coming. Whatever it is, always remember, there is a force, and it is greater than the darkness. Down with entropy, up with light. I really look forward to hearing from a lot of you from now in this moment, tonight, who I would like you, if you can, to check out the Earthfiles shop later on, because for the very first time in the past hour, we have gotten up some images of this new t-shirt. And for those of you who might like it, I hope so. And remember this, what I told you tonight about the meaning of it, that we are now going to start taking orders. We've had a lot of interest, and we've had some requests. Can you order now? And what we would like to do is, yes, say you can order, and that shipment and fulfillment won't start until December 1, because I'm going to be gone for from November 8th to the 18th while we do Baltimore Alien Con, and then I'm going to be with my family in Philadelphia, and I'm going to be doing another presentation in Philly. And then after I get back, Lori and I and Michael will work on fulfilling the t-shirt orders so that they'll start going out in December, and then we should be able to keep up with all of that because we'll all be back. So maybe tonight some of you can go out to Earthfiles shop even now, because I'm going to turn to Lori and say that what I would like to do now is to hear from some of you out there. Has anyone ever had an experience like what I described? And that I would love some feedback tonight from all of you on what you see of the new t-shirt front and back at the Earthfiles shop. So Lori, let's go to our wonderful audience and see what they have on their mind, and hopefully we'll start getting feedback on the t-shirts.
Nice. Yes, I'm going to see if anyone responds to that call out. I did put the links out, everyone, so go ahead and click on that link and let us know. So here are some comments about the sounds. Jamie says, sounds to me like a humpback whale. Issa Peacekeeper says, it does sound like whales. And someone else said, it sounds like it could be a hidden underground passage, maybe trains running through it.
Well, that's interesting. The whales, nobody's ever suggested that, because most people from 2011, it was in August of 2011, that the sound of what people said were like brass trumpets or horns in a chorus. They began at the end of 2011. And then by 2012, there were so many recordings. If you explored the archives of Earthfiles, you will find many audio are still embedded and still active. And you will get more the sound that's more metallic. I agree that this is an extraordinary sound from Montreal, which was between across midnight from last night to tonight, this early this morning. That so it's that recent, and it is a very strange sound. But to me, it also has a lot of metallic quality that I don't associate with the whale sounds. But what I can do is try to take this audio and send it to an expert on whales and see if we can find anything that would match. So that's a good suggestion. Thank you.
And I have a question about the Philadelphia show. Is that something that the audience can attend?
Oh, that's a good question. This one is an audience which they already sold out. And what I'm learning is that there are so many people in Philadelphia, New Jersey, who would like me to do something, that what we need to do is see if we can put together something that would be for Philadelphia, New Jersey audiences. And maybe that's something that I can work out in 2019. So this time it's sold out. But maybe are you going to go to Alien Con in Baltimore? If so, I'll see you there.
And let's go on to the first question we have, if you're ready.
Yeah.
Linda, have you had the opportunity to work with the two Navajo Nation park rangers, John Dover and Stanley Milford? They're known as the Paranormal Rangers.
No, I have not. Where are they exactly? Can we find out where are they exactly?
Okay, we'll put that out right now. And in the meantime, let's move on to Nancy's question.
All right.
Hi, Linda. Have you ever been approached by the Men in Black? I noticed that you and others have exposed many issues, but yet you haven't been silenced. Why do you think that is?
Because I'm stubborn. I have had threats, and a serious one in the mid-'80s. But my philosophy has been that the only way I know how to live is as an American who is still supposed to be protected by the Constitution, and on top of that, I'm a journalist, and I'm supposed to be protected by the First Amendment. And back in the 1980s, in a year in which forces tried to play very rough with me, my instinct was, if I cried and whined and tried to make a public statement about the government trying to take me out, I would end up handing to them on a platter what they wanted. If they could get any of us who are serious journalists and serious investigators to pull the card that the government was trying to hurt us, then we are automatically put in the conspiracy, wacko, all of that fringe category, which is exactly what the government likes, because as soon as they can do that to you, then your credibility is damaged. And so I never spoke. I never, not publicly. I have shared what happened to me with very close friends, but countering that, I'm still here. And in many ways, even though the world seems more troubled and that there's the energy of what feels like chaos everywhere, I feel inside myself that this could be one of the most important moments in a long time, and that it depends upon energies and timelines about where are we going to end up as we get to the end of the 2020s. Where will we end up? And that will be pivotal, perhaps, for the rest of the century. Inside of me, at this deep level, I feel some kind of anticipation, not fear. And I want to try, to the best of my ability, to try to keep reporting as much truth as I can, with the pressure of facts as much as I can during a period of time when the definition of truth and fact are being shredded in our own nation. So I'm not going to back off. I'm not going to run away. My philosophy is that people in the government who have read my books, screened my videos, and many have, they know that in my work I have been reporting much that they have never been able to report, but they know I have reported it pretty factually. So from here on out, I'm hoping that more and more people will read my books, see the documentaries, come to the Earthfiles YouTube channel, go to Earthfiles, and know that I am really, really trying to open up more difficult subjects. They are coming. I know what it is that I want to unfold. But in the complexity and the difficulty is, to me, where we get our greatest growth. And if in the next year or two, John Burroughs is convinced that by at least 2020 we will finally have We're Not Alone in the Universe as a reality, I think and hope it will be sooner, but I think we're close upon that. And that when the world changes and pivots around that truth, that we're not alone, then all the issues of who are the allies, who are the enemies, what is the Space Force, what do we really have, how long have we had the ability to neutralize gravity, to hop interdimensionally, to move in time, all of these things. I've talked to people who say they know we already can do it. So we're at a catch-up time. Americans and people all around the world are going to have to be catching up with the truth of their own nations, China, Russia, the United States being the big three, about what it is we already know about other life in the universe. Every remote viewer, people who have time traveled, they all say the universe is teeming with life. But some of it is not friendly. Some of it, a lot of it, is friendly. But there are self-interests, just like we have political, national self-interests on this planet. And therefore, not everything is peaceful. And coming back to the confrontation between the blazing white cross and the black Hulk, we seem to be in a universe where black versus white, dark versus light, hate versus love, death versus life are always, always the two goalposts in which the souls must move and play and do the work in this universe. Perhaps because, as we've talked about in this program before, and I have reported on Coast to Coast and at Earthfiles, that Thomas Campbell, the physicist, may have the real answer, that this is a projected universe, a holographic universe, and that it was designed and made by something hugely advanced, specifically to be an entropy reduction trainer for souls. And if that's what it's all about, then there are constant challenges to souls to choose the light or to choose the dark, and that whatever we're going to go through in the next decade, probably what will begin to dominate more and more is going to be climate change and more severe weather in all kinds of ranges. And that there are going to have to be migrations of people where there is drought or where there is flooding coasts. And that's going to be a whole new pressure on our planet and a new stress on humans, because I think it will increase. And for those of you who have sent me some of your dreams or meditations about seeing a lot of water on the planet, I want everybody to know that there sure are a lot of people who are getting this in dreams and meditations. And I wonder what could be coming that so many people would be getting that impression. And for those of you out there who may not have communicated this to anybody, and if you've had any dreams or meditations or impressions or even telepathic thoughts about a lot of water in the future, I sure would like to hear from you. I'm very interested because it's been presented to me by somebody who worked in physics on back engineering of UFO vehicles, who told me that the Noah's flood in Genesis is related to a natural event, a cycle of energy in our Milky Way galaxy, and that a Noah's flood could happen again. Well, instead of thinking about these things with fear, I would like all of us to know more about what is the truth. If there is physics behind such a statement, let's know all of the physics. If there is a relationship to forces that come through this solar system, let's know about it. Let's know about it up front. And that as we get this headline that I hope will happen soon, that we're not alone in this universe, I hope I will be educated enough to talk with you all about who are the friendly forces that have been staving off the possible dark, unfriendly forces, and what a great thing to know. I've talked with many people in military who have said, we have allies, and because of those allies, humanity has been helped. Let's hang on to that and try to find out as much about it as we possibly can. Who are true allies in this solar system, in this Milky Way galaxy and beyond? And that this is not science fiction. That what we're talking about is the new geopolitical territory of Earth, our solar system, in this Milky Way galaxy. And that we're going to have bases on Mars, we're going to have bases on the moon, we're moving out into our own solar system. It's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. And that means that the more all of us on Earth begin to understand about the truth of the geopolitical complex territory that the Milky Way galaxy is in, and then, what, 1 trillion more galaxies? We're talking about trillions of suns, planets. Just how big and complex are the political forces of this universe? And that they're clearly, without question, and that's what I hope all of you will always hang on to, there is a force that I call the divine field. And I think it wants every soul to survive in the light. Lori, any other questions?
Yes, I do have one where he's asking about the smoke plume on Mars. Do you have any idea of what that could be?
Oh, yes. It's not smoke, from everything I've read. It is a particular kind of cloud. Remember, Mars has a lighter atmosphere than we do. And that what is peculiar is the length of time that a column of we'll call it enough moisture to be a cloud in the first place in the dry Martian atmosphere. And it looks like in a way, it looks like a column of smoke that would be blown by wind. But on Mars, different from Earth, let's say we have a trade wind. And a trade wind could blow a cloud that could become long and horizontal. That is the thinking about this strange photograph on the big red face of Mars with this white long cloud. And it's possible that it has something to do with a seasonal change, that on Earth we will get trade winds and isolated column clouds under certain seasons. And the same thing may be happening on Mars. But admittedly, it is very strange. And apparently, it has happened a few times before, something like it. But this may be the most dramatic. And what I'm going to do tomorrow, I'll post the photograph that I have of this. I've been waiting to see a consensus coming from some of the Martian planetary scientists, and I think that so far the consensus is that it couldn't be smoke because the area where it is, there is the volcanoes are supposed to be extinct. And then there are also issues about whether or not there could be anything like smoke from any kind of a heat fire that would last in the Martian atmosphere. That seems to be another one of the arguments against this being smoke, and that it is a cloud that has moisture, but there must be air that is squeezing or moving it in some way that is making this long column. And tomorrow, come to Earthfiles, I'll have that photograph up for those of you who have not seen it, with whatever the latest consensus is about this strange cloud on Mars. What about one more?
Well, I'm not sure if you know about this one, but we'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Linda, do you believe in the Millennium Hospitality Experience?
Could the questioner explain Millennium Hospitality?
Okay, Phil, that's up to you. And I just thought you'd like to know that some of your fans have already jumped over and purchased shirts, so I'd have to say that they must like them. We're getting some good comments about them as well.
Oh, well, that's what I'd like to know. Can you share some of the feedback from people?
I don't think so, because that was a ways back in the chat.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's been very positive so far, but it's a little bit quiet. You know, it is Halloween, so
All
I
right.
think we're about ready to wrap up.
All right. Well, that's true. It is Halloween night, and I look forward to doing next Wednesday to hear from those of you who may have more questions following up what I introduced tonight, and that I hope that I get to hear from some of you who may have had any similar experiences about what I shared tonight. That is unique for me publicly, but I think I feel inside of myself at a mind, body, soul level that this is the most important time for all of us to be sharing these kinds of experiences, because we don't know what kind of bucking horse the world, this planet we're on, will be going through in the next few years, and that it may be extremely important for those of us who can and want to share some of these experiences that fall into the category of what are we and what is our soul, and that all of these experiences with children out of body, foggy smoke that may be from other past relatives or pets that have a physics that they can come in and out of our dimension. Oh, to understand that. And what kind of physics is at work in this cosmos in which the dark versus the light can battle right in front of us and leave us convinced we have a soul and it can be protected. So on that note, I'm going to say happy Halloween. I will see you next Wednesday before Lori, Michael, and I head for Baltimore. And I really, really would appreciate emails from you while I'm here, like tonight and tomorrow and so forth, about your reaction to the new t-shirts. I would really, really like to know if down with entropy, up with light is something that you grok wearing. Thank you. See you next week.